Welcome back to another Tony Montana video. All the content that Tony Montana provides is for educational and historical purposes. The aim is to safeguard the history of this breed and everything related to it for future generations. Our aim is to educate without lies or exaggerations. Don't forget to subscribe to the Tony Montana channel to get notified when new videos are published. Let's begin the video. Physical Conditioning by Tom Garner. Overview and Introduction. To be physically fit is a state of excellence that empowers one to be more physically capable, more alive, and have an enhanced sense of well-being and confidence. One can also expect to live longer through fitness. It is a condition that I would therefore desire for all living things. A fit world is a happier, healthier, more satisfied world. It is as an extension of this basic belief that I present the following insights and general information regarding physical conditioning. I believe that most of what I have to say is equally applicable to humans and dogs. There are many people who can benefit immensely from having a better grasp of the road to fitness for their own personal use. Likewise, there are many people who are involved with legitimate activities with their dogs who will be better able to prepare their dogs by virtue of the information presented in this article. Dogs that are taken off the chain for a boar hunt without preparation may be much less likely to make the next hunt if they are not properly conditioned for this rigorous event. Conformation shows are very often decided in favor of the fitter dog when all other factors are near equal. Weight pulling, shoot-wound, and tug-of-war contests all reward higher levels of fitness when the tallies come in from the judges' table. Any competitor in any form of physical competition can benefit from activities that prepare him/her for the requirements of the competition. Unfortunately, the corollary to this is that unenlightened attempts to gain fitness can often do more harm than good. In writing this article, I will deal with some issues that can only be dealt with conceptually. In order to make these kinds of issues more understandable, I will provide concrete everyday kinds of examples that will help readers to bridge the gap between the concept and the everyday world. Our objective here is to communicate and educate, not to impress anyone with our vocabulary. People who truly learn to master the control of their own physical existence, or that of their dogs, are those who learn to read important, but subtle signs of improvement or distress. Through this awareness, timely adjustments can be made to help maintain conditions that are optimal for enhanced fitness. Contrast this with a man/conditioner that is armed only with recipe for conditioning. When his attempts are met with the inevitable, unexpected twists and turns of the real world, his conditioning methods will not adapt and the best outcomes will not be achieved. It was Nietzsche who said the greatest truths are methodological. To illustrate this with an example, I will pose the question, would a man benefit more from being given a fish dinner, or from being taught how to successfully catch fish? Clearly, knowing the method of fishing could serve to fill the man's belly for the remainder of his life. A single fish dinner would only serve him today. Likewise, being given a single truth, such as dogs that are fed immediately after they use their nutrition better, is not nearly as beneficial as showing you a method for analyzing the soundness of training and feeding techniques so that you can better sort out right from wrong on your own from that point forward. Thinking in an evolutionary context. The method that I refer to above is what I call thinking in an evolutionary context. To minimize typing/verbiage, I will refer to this method as tech from this point forward. What is tech? It is the process of examining man or animal in the environmental context in which he evolved. When one learns to think and evaluate in this manner, a rich theoretical treasure trove of understanding avails itself to the thinker. Evolution involves a constant process of adaptation of a species to its environment in service to the objective of survival of that species. Virtually all characteristics that are firmly set in the physical or instinctive nature of members of a species can be presumed to have, or have had, adaptive value. These characteristics or tendencies have increased the probability that this species will survive. The logical extension of this point is that, then evaluating physical or behavioral characteristics, it is mandatory that one ask, what might be, or have been its adaptive value? What was the context in which this adaptive value existed, and how can I use this knowledge of adaptation and context to maximize the existence of this animal/person? It is remarkable how the living world begins to come into focus as a dynamic, functional choreography when one learns to think in this manner. For those people who are thinking on a deeper level, it is important to bear in mind that this process of evolution is in service to the survival of the species, not the individual. While the well-being of the individual often overlaps the well-being of the species, when these two objectives are at odds, the individual quickly becomes expendable. In fact, the individual is programmed to die to make room for another generation that might fit a changing environment better than its predecessor. Perhaps our minds would be less conflicted if we could develop a more species-centered consciousness. The vast majority of the biochemical nature of today's dogs, or man, comes from a much different time in his existence. During many tens of thousands of years, perhaps in excess of 100,000 years, the essential canine metabolic chemistry and rhythms were established and fine-tuned so that the dog would have the greatest probability of surviving in relation to the opportunities available in his environment. During most of their history/evolution, dogs have been predatory carnivores and can be understood today in this context. Due to technology and various factors, the environment, nutritional and otherwise, that is available to dogs today is vastly different than the one they evolved to fit. It is a true credit to canine adaptability that they survive as well as they do in today's world. It is not surprising that many become neurotic when we force the square peg of their nature into the round hole of perfumed, sanitized apartment life. Just as with man, the basic metabolism of the dog presumes that regular intense work will be required for them to eat. Without the work of the hunt, there will be no food to eat. Take work, a casual work around the block to take dump into neighbor's yard is not the same as chasing and catching a prey animal. One, out of the picture, and you lose a digestive aid. Cardio work. Toning of muscles that control joint tolerances. Stress relief. Endorphins. General conditioning. Etc. So, how do we rectify this misfit of animal and changing environment? We must first gain some understanding of the patterns and conditions that existed during the canine formative years. Tech is the method we will employ. The natural rhythm of a dog 20,000 years ago would have been to do no strenuous work for aesthetic reasons. Today's dog can differ in this regard, due to drive development in service to his human host. The only reason he would choose to do significant work would be to alleviate hunger. This single observation provides us with a very useful rule to begin to structure our training methodology. A dog should be essentially empty of food and mildly to moderately hungry when he is worked. There are physiological reasons that back up this point. During digestion, a significant part of the dog's total blood volume is diverted to the intestines to participate in the digestive process. This means that less blood is available to transport oxygen and nutrients to the muscle cells, and carbon dioxide and lactic acid away from the muscles during work. Also, blood sugar that is normally used to fuel muscle cells during work may be very unstable during the digestive process, often making physical performance during this time very substandard. And finally, the very presence of the stool in the intestines is at the very least a distraction, and the time from food ingestion to discharge is normally 20 to 23 hours. Going back to tech, our next observation is that when a dog makes a kill, he will begin to consume his prey either immediately or in a very short period of time. This sequence tells us that we should feed our dog, or ourselves, within minutes after the end of work. Science has shown us that the body, man or dog, utilizes nutrients more efficiently and more completely when they are available within a 30-minute window of opportunity following the finish of the workout. Next, we see that a dog will first consume the stomach contents of his prey. In the stomach of the prey animal, we find predigested carbohydrates that have been reduced to glucose polymers by enzymes, and also P1 digested proteins that have been reduced to amino acids by enzymes. These nutrients are highly usable and allow the dog to quickly assimilate them for the twofold objective of repair of muscle and restoration of energy stores. These pre-digested nutrients allow the dog to best utilize the metabolic window of opportunity we spoke of earlier. The time from ingestion to assimilation is reduced because much of digestive process already occurred in the prey animal. From this observation we can conclude that, the feed for our dog should include pre-digested proteins and carbohydrates in order to make nutrients quickly available following the workout. This is probably a good place to note that dogs are unable to digest most raw vegetables. Try some raw carrot and adding it to your dog's food. In 24 hours you will see these pieces of carrot in your dog's stool. Virtually unchanged. Cooking alters potatoes, corn, rice, and other grains to make them digestible for dogs, but canine metabolism evolved before the canine/human interdependency. There was no reliable source of cooked plant material during those formative years. In short, during most of canine formative evolution, the only reliable source of carbohydrate nutrition was from the stomach of prey animals. It would be a logical mistake to automatically assume that the enzyme-reduced glucose polymers available in the stomach of a prey animal are functionally interchangeable with the cooked rice and corn provided in today's conventional dog foods. Many types of food that are available to man and dog are seasonal. Generally, man or dog will eat the most easily attained foodstuffs that meet his nutritional requirements. However, there are frequent times in which there is little or no choice. The only choice is to eat what is available, or starve. The consequences of changing food choices can be much more profound than one might suspect. Imagine a dog living 20,000 years ago on a grassy plain that is thick with small rodents, mice. To meet his nutritional requirements, it is necessary for him to consume 8 mice each day. The dog has only to lie patiently until Mr. Mouse appears, then a quick pounce delivers the rodent snack. Repeat this scenario times 8 and you can account for most of the dog's daily activity. As a result of the availability of a specific type of food, the dog has a predetermined work/rest schedule, and a relatively low level of fitness for activities requiring a greater level of exertion. Seasons change, and the number of mice greatly diminish. It is now necessary to chase and catch rabbits in order to survive. One day is barely enough. 2 a day makes all the hunger pains go away. The first catch was extremely difficult. The dog was quickly winded and his muscles ached. He was so sore the next day. Over time, his ability to breath and the strength in his legs increase and catching rabbits becomes much more routine. Rabbits require a great deal more work than mice, but the reward is much greater, so a change in the work/rest schedule automatically accompanies the change in prey animal. In addition to a greater work requirement to catch a rabbit, the more abundant nutrition in a rabbit means the dog gets more rest before he must work to catch another rabbit. Just as it starts to get easy, winter sets in and rabbits get scarce. A herd of deer now inhabits the plain, but catching and bringing down one of these guys is a 10 miles of bad road. The first chase was a failure. Fortunately, a sick older deer was an easy catch the second day. This catch was very important because the reserve of food from the deer gave the dog 3 days to make a bona fide deer kill. The amount of effort was extreme. Every muscle fiber of his body was pushed to new limits. After about a month of alternating feast and famine, the dog's body gained strength and endurance in the right muscles and improved his cardiovascular capabilities so that he could reliably make a deer kill, followed by the consumption of the digested vegetable matter from the stomach in order to elevate his own blood sugar, lowered by the exertion of the chase. Over the course of the next 2 to 3 days, the successful hunter would rest and leisurely consume the amino acid-rich organ meats and muscle and fat tissue from his prey. Again, a new work/rest schedule has been defined, primarily in response to the difficulty of bringing down a particular type of prey and also in response to the nutritional bounty associated with this prey animal. As the dog reaches the pinnacle of his possible prey animals, as in biggest, toughest, greatest nutritional yield. A work/rest cycle of extreme exertion, followed by approximately 2 days of rest is suggested. After 2 to 3 days the prey animal would likely be inedible due to bacterial growth. Therefore, bringing down an elephant wouldn't likely increase the number of rest days between kills, as the meat would be inedible after a couple of days. The rest portion of the work/rest cycle would appear to have ceiling of 2 to 3 days. In other words, if you rest more than 3 days, the payoff in recovery diminishes and the cost in lost fitness increases. At least 3 important laws are implied in the above scenarios. First, the body assumes the least fit form possible. It is natural and normal for the body to not waste its resources to unnecessarily maintain a heightened state of fitness and preparedness. Only through special experiential, exercise, hormonal, or dietary prompts will the body induce greater work capacity in its muscles. The pain we feel when we train is intended to prevent us from frivolously exercising to alter our body type. If we change our body type, it is supposed to be because we must, not simply because we choose it. The equation goes like this: the pain of hunger is greater than the pain of hard physical exertion, which in turn is greater than the drive to frivolously choose to exercise. In the gym we've all heard phrase "no pain, no gain." It simply means that our bodies won't let us work hard enough to make gains unless we prove how serious we are by withstanding substantial discomfort. Once we prove our sincerity, our bodies provide a nice dose of endorphin pain relief to help us along. If you spontaneously choose to go for a run, it won't be long before lactic acid and lack of breath will cause ask yourself, do I really want to run? Typically the answer is no, and the unnecessary, not directly linked to survival, work is soon ended. When mandated by hunger, or other powerful drive, man or dog will work strenuously to do whatever is necessary to eat. After the sincerity of the effort is proved by enduring the initial pain of hard physical exertion, the body provides some measure of relief in the form of natural pain-relieving/pleasure-inducing endorphins. The second law implied in our hungry dog scenario is, the body adapts in response to a given type and volume of work by becoming more fit to do that type and amount of work. As the available prey animal changed, the type and amount of work required to make a kill changed. At first, the dog's body wasn't very adept at doing the new kind of work. It was a painful struggle. With each chase the pain became a little less and his ability to accomplish the task of catching the prey animal became a little easier. The third law states our ability to use the second law above to help us design a training program. The third law states, the best way to prepare for and become adept at doing a particular kind of activity is to do that same kind of activity. We all sort of know this, but we tend to overlook it when we are training our dogs. If I am preparing for championship basketball game in 2 months, what do I do to get ready? I play lots of basketball. Nothing prepares me for specific kind of work required for this sport better than simply playing this sport. If I will compete in a weightlifting contest in 2 months, winner takes $100,000, will I be playing basketball? No way. I'll be moving some iron. Seems like common sense, right? So why do we do only treadmill work when we are preparing a dog to take on a wild boar? Most of his work against the boar will be done with his jaws, neck, and shoulders. Every athletic event has unique requirements of pace, rate of work, duration, how long the work activity lasts, and strength/power, level of exertion, for a unique combination of muscles. Take a moment to fully understand this statement. First, the combination of muscles required to do the activity is unique. Next, the rate, duration and intensity required of each muscle are unique. Each work activity has its own unique fingerprint of fitness requirements. A dog that is pulling a sled uses a different combination of muscles than a dog that is trying to bring down a large boar. A dog that is pulling a sled for maximum weight over 1 minute pull may be using the same muscles as a dog pulling a lighter sled on a 50-mile trek. But a totally different kind of fitness is required in these muscles for the 2 sled-pulling dogs. By now it should be clear to the reader that far and away the most reliable way to prepare for a specific type of athletic endeavor is, as far as possible, to train in precisely that same kind of activity, or the closest possible approximation of that activity. I hope you have enjoyed this part of the article written by Tom Garner. If you did, do press the like button and subscribe to the Tony Montana channel. Until next time.